Hello you fellows, I've just bought a new vlogging camera. And that's not it. This is it. Isn't it a sweetie? Now there's a small story behind this. Quite a few years ago now, while I was still back in California, I wanted a decent camera, and my friend persuaded me to buy a full frame camera. And at the time, the EOS 5D, this is the Mark III, was one of the best in the business. And it's a phenomenal camera. It's a true heavyweight in more ways than one. And it is very, very versatile for stills pictures. I wasn't interested in video in those days at all. So I bought it for getting an extended range of lenses to take stills with, because that's all I did. And it's actually pretty useless for video. It's nowadays most of these cameras are mirrorless. This one is a proper single lens reflex, so it's got a bloody great big mirror inside it, and it's not really very good for video, but you can do extremely clever things with it for stills. And you need to be a bit of a nuclear scientist to drive it, if the truth be known. The menu tree is incredibly complicated, but the worst thing of all is the weight. With this lens on, and this is a really nice lens, it's a kit lens, it came with a camera, 24 to 105 mil, and with a full frame camera it matches up perfectly, so you get that full range. And the two of them together weigh at least 5 pounds, and you just can't carry it around. And so I virtually never used it. And I wanted to progress a little bit beyond the iPhone for vlogging, because that's what I largely do nowadays. And so I wanted something like that, but slightly smaller. And this is just an amazing little camera, and it's got a really good write-up. I mean, there are loads better cameras out there, but for the price, this is really good. And it comes with a nice lens on. The lenses have got different mounts, but I can, with a converter, I can put this lens on this camera. And with a converter stroke speed doubler, this lens will go, which is a full frame lens, will go on this camera with almost no cropping at all. If I was just to put this lens on this, I'd lose 1.7 in crop, which really is not very good for the lens, well, for the images. But with a speed doubler, that lens will go on this camera, and this is great. And I just took this out for the first time today to get used to the menus and the setups and whatever, because I'd fancy myself to run it in manual mode, and I can now in photos. But I'm not convinced yet whether manual mode is a good idea for vlogging. Now, for vlogging, you just want to walk around and let the camera take care of the exposure. So anyway, you'll see the results today. Okay, so here we are with my new little vlogging camera, and we'll see how we go. It's on fully auto at the moment, I think. So we'll have to see what the what the results are like. It's working with the wireless mic, seems to be okay. And also it's set up to shoot in 25 frames a second. I'd like to have set it to 24, but I think the camera knows it's in a PAL region, so for some reason it doesn't give you the option of 24 frames. You can have 25 or 50. So anyway, that's it. It's going to be interesting to do it with the iPhone as well. Now I can. This is all completely crushed out as far as I can see. Well, I'm having a mess around, and this is now set to 50 frames a second. So I want to see what the image stabilization is doing, as the lens stabilization is on. The camera stabilization is off, because that's supposed to be not very good. So I don't know. Must admit, it looks better now than it did. Thing is now where. See, my problem is that I'm getting all kind of distracted and whatever. It's I mean, just looking at this LCD, depends what the finished movie looks like, but looking at this LCD here, with a viewfinder, a flat screen on the back, I'd say that the sky here is pretty crushed out. So if I was running this manual, which I'm not, you know, I'd be taking the exposure down. In fact, that's what I may in fact do. Okay, well, let's just walk for a while. We're now on a 50th of a second. I'm in manual shooting mode, so I've had to change the shutter speed, and the ISO is still on auto, but I've reduced the aperture. It's now f10 for all of you geeks out there. My big concern is the sky, actually. I don't know how that's going to work. I'll have to look at some of these clips when I get home. What I'm not sure about is the image stabilization. You know, I'd really like to shoot in 24 frames a second, because they say it gives you the best cinematic look. But what the hell? You're also more likely, when you're vlogging, to be kind of jerking all over the place, you know. And the next thing is how my iPhone shoots in 60 or 30 frames a second. Does that exist in the same editing package as this? And I can see now that the image is darkening, so I've opened up the shutter. But makes you think, doesn't it? Makes you think. So what I'm going to do now is put it back into auto shooting mode, and at the same time I'm getting used to the settings, how to do the settings. It's all very well, you know, reading the book and that, but unless you try it and figure it out for yourself, you don't know what's happening. And I mean, it could probably do with a neutral density filter. That would help the sky, but fact, I'll probably get one of those, and that will also help protect the lens. Let's go back into auto. Okay, now we're back in full auto. Let's not be proud. I have the what shall we say? I have the knowledge to know what all the knobs and levers do, but do they do exactly what I want? I mean, if I'm vlogging like this, then I suspect it's just easier to keep it in auto. So that might be what I'll do. You see, we went into a dark patch there, and you know, it kind of irised the camera up for me. And it should be adjusting the focus on my eyes. So that's it. We'll see. I can't spend too long out because I got the cleaning lady at home, and she's okay of being on her own for an hour or so. But I've faffed around with this walk so much already that I've burnt quite a lot into that. So this is an exercise of getting a few clips and a few different settings, and going back and seeing what they're like. So let's switch off the lens stabilization. Alright, now we've got no image stabilization at all. Has anyone noticed the difference? Let's just walk around down here a little bit. I mean, this is basically what my iPhone does, and it's kind of juggling it around all over the place, which is what kind of I don't like about the iPhone videos that I shoot. So we'll see. This is like getting used to your camera 101, I suppose. I haven't even started on the stills photography yet. You're better off in stills photography. You can shoot manual. It's a lot easier if your subject is staying still, that is. Anyway, we'll go back to lens stabilization, and well, we'll see if we can see any difference. It's a very I mean, I've been awake half the night with f-stops going through my head, you know, and that prompted a few nightmares about the ex-wife, as it always does. So it's all a bit stressful, this new equipment stuff. But I must say, this is a darling little camera. It's so tiny, and though it's heavier than the iPhone, it's pretty well manageable on this small tripod thing that I've got here. So we'll see. I might think of getting a prime lens for this lark, because I'm not going to use much of this telephoto. This is wide open at the moment at 15mm. So could do with coming back a bit more, actually, like that, you know. So we'll see. We will see. Anyway, I can't walk all that far today because whether it's because I walked on the beach yesterday, my old weakness, or what, but my left big toe has gone a bit gouty. Now, you might say you're just an alcoholic fat bastard, and it's because of that, and it really is, I suppose. But now Noi's gone back, my alcohol consumption has cut down considerably. So Anyway, I've got very good gout medicine, so I'll take a little bit of that and hopefully it will clear up in a day or so. I don't take the full dose even, you know, so we'll have to wait and see. La. So full auto, 50 frames a second. And let's see how we go. You see, it should. That's the downside of, well, full auto should have lifted it up, I would have thought, but the alternative is to shut everything down and crank the aperture open. You see, like this. It has cranked it open a little bit. There we are. I'm in exactly the same spot, but now I've gone to manual mode and I've opened up the iris right up because it's a bit dark. And so you're in the case of what can you do. It's then you realise how great the iPhone is, because with the iPhone you don't have to muck about with anything like this. It just does it. It's like your eyes don't, you don't see the sensitivity of your eyes going up and down like mad, do you? But same with the iPhone. But you get yourself a camera, and it seems the more expensive the camera, the more you have to fiddle with it. Like now, I'm out in the light again, and this iris setting is too wide open. So I brought it down a tad, and you know, it's all over the place. No, it's too dark. So, I mean, this is what it's like getting used to the goddamn camera, I suppose. We're going to go into some heavy shade again now, so let's see what the camera makes of this. I'm on like f14 at the moment. It's not complaining too much. Let's go back to, that's actually quite nice. Let's go back to manual, to full auto. And full auto, same spot. It takes a while. Because it gets confused by the trees and everything. You can see sometimes it goes up and is my face is overexposed, and then it isn't. So anyway, this is it. I'm going to turn around and go back again. The answer right now is just to do a bit of both and see how it works. But it's great because it just helps you get through the menus. Like, you know, I'm getting to the stage now, I'm only after like half a day, where I've got the touch screen in front of me, so I know I can just touch the relevant bit there and alter things. So it does make it easier. But yeah, interesting, exciting times. But like I said, I'm gonna, when I get back to the bike, I'm gonna cut in a bit of iPhone video and then put it all into my editing package and see what it makes of it. Because the iPhone is on 30 or 60 frames a second. So we'll see what it makes of it. I wonder if I can speed this automatic response up. It'd be much better if I could. Much better. See, that's way too dark now. is I'm being crushed out by the light at the back. You know, you could say, oh, put some more exposure compensation in. That's the next thing. See, if I do this, then it comes up fine. So, but if I go back to there, it's going to crush me out. So this is the disadvantage of auto. The disadvantage. So let's go back. There we are. Now what I've done here is I've put in some exposure compensation, and as this is all largely backlit and we're on manual. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's go back to full auto. And this is full auto with a couple of stops of backlight compensation, which is looking better than it did. Crossover, otherwise I'm going to get killed. We'll see how much my face gets crushed out. If I go under this truck that's passing me, it'll get crushed out quite a lot, I'm sure. So what I'm going to do is go back to the house and wait for the cleaning lady to go, and then maybe I'll come out and do another walk. You can see the sky is still affecting it, affecting my facial features. I'm not sure how challenging this environment is. I don't even think about it with an iPhone. I'm not sure how challenging this environment is because there's so much backlight, which when you're with a real camera you have to worry about all the time. So you know, I'm not quite sure. But, we'll see. Probably take a couple of weeks to get used to what I should really be doing. I mean, I'm being very brave in a way, shooting in manual, although I'm in auto at the moment. But there we are. Now you can see that my face is somewhat overexposed. And now that's taken that backlight compensation out. I mean, it took me 5 seconds, but you've got to split the shot up to do it, you know. And in reality, you can't keep doing that all the time. So there has to be another way. There has to be another way. Go back to the iPhone. You've just wasted best part of $1,000. No, it's not like that at all. So yeah, it's good fun. It's all fun. So what have we learned? Not much. We've learned that you've got a lot more to learn, I think, but right now I'm going to keep it in 50 frames a second, and I've already, I think, managed to speed up the response of the auto exposure correction. So I'm going to have another go at shooting in auto and see how we go. Because one thing I've figured out right now is that if you're in a manual mode and you're walking around, that was a challenging environment because it was backlit for a bit and then it wasn't backlit. The exposures were going up and down all over the place. And I think you're better off with automatic mode, because if you're in manual, the settings just don't change and you're going to constantly go from under to overexposed to just right some of the time. So I need to go out again and have another go, but this has been very valuable and probably incredibly boring for you, but there we are.